Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. Hello everyone, Solidude here. In today's video I would like to discuss the mindset of a person with a disability. Now before I go on, I would like to state that if we were not of this world, that if we were born no different, then perhaps this would not have been the video I would have made today. However, this is the world we are born into. This is the time that we live in. This is the small part of time we inhabit. We will never live to see any other. We're in the 21st century. People with disabilities that are not born to a standard that's unconsciously upheld. We are but an afterthought. Your chances statistically are worse in all facets of modern life. Whether you are born with a mild disability or severe, you do not match the average, in a complete sense. It's only that severity just makes it worse from there. We are lessers watching the world from a spectator's standpoint. We rarely get to, if ever, fully revel and forget ourselves in moments of joy. Now, of course, if you have a disability that hinders you, that's made you think that at different points in your life, imagine what I'd be without it. I'd like to just stop you right there. I know most of the time you feel lost, or you ache, or you're confused and thoughts preoccupy your mind. Why me, you ask? Why do I put in more to get out the same? Why doesn't the pain and stress of it all ever go away? Why do I get stared at? Why, when I was younger, did people treat me differently? Why was I laughed at? Why was I excluded? Why, now that I'm older and I like the opposite sex, do they not like me? Why is it like that all the time? Why can't I talk about it? Why am I afraid to go outside? Why do I automatically fear locations far away? Why do I jump at loud noises? Why am I always tired? Why does nobody understand me? Why? I could list more, a lot more, from what I experienced to what I could only imagine the more severe end sufferers go through, by amplifying my lifelong frustration and pain tenfold. Inside I picture it, the fear, and weep for them truly. The cards they were dealt were not fair. I understand you. However pointless that statement may seem, I hope that makes you feel less alone in your most trying of moments. However, let me just say that all these problems we face, if you're looking for a solution, I'm going to have to let you down. Because I don't have a solution, because in truth there isn't one. Well, not a whole one, because that would be a cure, which due to the complexity of the human body, and especially the human brain, and with each disability, especially CP, no two cases are the same. The problems are quite specific for each individual. Now I'm sure you could get mad at the world, be filled with hate in your youth as to why nobody relates to you fully, as you develop and grow older, as the physical impacts of what you were given get slightly worse over time. However, I would like to point out something, especially to the younger people with cerebral palsy who may feel somewhat lost on this issue. There is one thing that doesn't decay, and that is your mind. You see, I often find ironically that the main source of frustration is not actually the physical manifestation of the disability, not the pain, because we adjust to that, we cope. Everyone sees from the outside that this is probably what frustrates us the most, and this is how people who we first meet address us and this issue. Not out of malice, but of lack of understanding or ignorance. However, I find that not to be the case. In my youth growing up, I often just had questions that had no answers, because nobody understood or had the time to pass it down onto me. Because of this, I often had high amounts of anxiety, bouts of depression I went through with normal life struggles on top. Unwelcome events walked into my life that I never asked for or wanted in strange moments as I grew. There was a lot of frustration that came with that, all bottled up for years with no access to allow that to be driven from me in the form of being accepted to relationships. My experiences were always somewhat skewed, not the real package but a lesser extension of those things. Hence, due to the measurement of biology, I am. However, as I stated, the mind is simply the one key area you can rely on to get you through. Yes, at points in your life, especially from a young age to your early 20s, it can be your worst enemy. It will turn on you. However, I hope to convey to you that at least there is a reason to never give up, thanks to the nature of your mind. You see, as you age with cerebral palsy, there will come a time when those questions, those irremovable issues always stuck in the back of your mind, causing you distress and frustration to no end, will simply cease to cause such pain. And this is what happened to me. I am now 26, all things considered, that is still somewhat young. Give or take your own opinion, I am nowhere near dying, there is still life in me. However, throughout my younger years, from as far back as being 6, as far back as I can remember, all the way up to 23, I always found I had burning issues and emotional distress due to cognitive dissonance, brought on by sensory cues or social situations, and a lack of a solvable problem. So what changed? What allowed me to push away from this, you may be wondering? Well, the first one is time. Time is essential. With time you gain new perspective. With time you grow. You see, most people when faced with a problem want to solve it right away, so they actively seek out methods or activities to break the problem down, or to find methods to solve it as fast as possible. But with cerebral palsy, you can't do that. Cerebral palsy is unsolvable. It's with you for life. If that upsets you, I'm sorry, I truly am. But that's the cold truth. You may not want it, so you fight it in your youth, you go out, you do things you shouldn't be doing, and you push yourself only to find your peers excel past you, or something along those lines. I'm not saying it's all pointless, but that's the solution you'll come to most of the time. However, because of these interactions with time, you'll naturally become a stoic person. This is where you start to deviate from your peers. You'll look at things as they are in full ugliness, and at first it haunts you. But eventually that horrible view you see all the time will not affect you. For example, if someone called you a cripple, or someone acted strange towards you and nobody else, and everybody doesn't bat an eyelash over it. If you have an emotional response to that, then you still need time. As you get older, the second phase is settling in and accepting everyday interactions. Those interactions will appear to be somewhat predictable. Human behavior will become noticeable, and sometimes your isolation will feel too heavy to bear. A strong indicator of this is, say, when people are laughing and happy, and all you're thinking about in this room you're in with them is your disability and how it's holding you back from truly letting go and joining in with the laughter. You may think you're odd or strange that elation and joy isn't kicking in. You may even feel sorry for yourself, but this is just your mind's way of dealing with the indifference of its environment. It's processing. People will tell you who don't have CP that you should focus on being happy, but with not enough time spent, you will find it to be almost impossible. This is because 1, they do not know what you're dealing with, or could not understand, and 2, your mind is still dealing with the indifference of an insolvable issue, which I might add, they are not having to confront or deal with. The brain is a problem solver. It is designed to do these things. It will churn on an issue for years in the background, even when you're not actively thinking about it. This is why you sometimes find yourself thinking of your disability and you abstractly out of nowhere. Your brain is simply just trying to find a solution to the problem. This is normal and not to be feared. You won't always be like that. With time, you will eventually learn to ignore these patterns and stop pondering on the what-ifs and slowly adjust to the uncomfortableness of the walls put up in front of you. Then preferring to pursue what's important to you and learning how to be present in the moment and focused. Again, this is only obtainable with time. You cannot hack or fix your way out of this one. Please note though that this will and can cause pain and frustration as you grow, leading to anxiety, addictions and depression. But note, and this is important, time, which causes growth, will lead your brain to adapt. The questions and need for answers will most likely always be present, however, but the emotional aspect of these will dull with time. For example, in my case, I noticed these changes around the age of 24 to 26. However, I could imagine that this varies widely. The other topics I will cover in my next video on how to sail the void, which are stoic persona, adaptation, and repetition. Thank you for watching.